It is party time, ladies and gentlemen. Come on. I hope that you fasten your seatbelt because this isn't going to be a bumpy ride. This is actually going to be a very smooth ride, but it's going to be one that we are going to go fast and we are going to end up at the destination of your dreams when it comes to growing your business. So I'm very excited because our guest today is a good friend, a former coach, and somebody who I think has a very awesome perspective about the coaching industry, and that is Jess Glazer DeRose. And Jess is a former celebrity personal trainer and elementary school teacher. Jess turned her once cute side hustle into a multi-million-dollar business in 18 months. Let's go. Since leaving her teaching job in 2017, she has hired a team of incredible heart-centered leaders, served hundreds of clients, and helped them generate over $11 million in revenue. She is committed to helping 100 entrepreneurs create seven-figure impact-driven businesses. Now, Jess has been featured in the Wall Street Journal, Forbes, Yahoo Finance, The Today Show, Good Day New York, The New York Post, Shape Magazine, and Well and Good. As evident through her business, life, and philanthropic endeavors, Jess's mission is to cause a ripple effect and inspire change for generations to come, making a massive impact along the way and leaving a lasting legacy beyond her singular actions. Jess, welcome to the show.
Hi, Jake. Thank you so much for having me. It's like, can you just do that every day when I get out of bed,
Yeah, I think introductions, we need to hype them up more, Sometimes you got the pre-read bios and you got your own introductions. And I think in life, we need to be introducing people and celebrating them, right? Because just one sentence of hype can change that entire perspective of that relationship or that moment. But anyways, Jess, we talked a lot about in the intro, taking your cute side hustle, turning it into a multi-million-dollar business after being an elementary school teacher. What the heck? This is so cool. How did you do it? Take us through the years.
Yeah. Oh, no one likes the answer that I'm about to give because it's just not sexy. How did I do it? Time, consistency, and grind, hustle. I mean, literally getting in the room, learning from other people, learning from podcasts, learning from books, and making a ton of mistakes along the way and just learning from those mistakes. Truly, when you read the bio, it's like I said, it's like, oh, can you read it every day when I get out of bed? It's so nice. It sounds so flashy. And while it's all true information, it's also the bio, right? And so when we really go back, I started first selling products online in 2012. That was 10 years ago. So in 2012, I was selling online personal training just to friends through email, and they were writing me checks in the mail and literally mailing them to me in the snail mail. I got into blogging and Facebook groups and ebooks, and all the while I was a teacher, like you said. So teacher by day, personal trainer at night and weekend, and then cute side hustle just to really fulfill a desire that I felt I had this void. It wasn't until 2017 that I decided to quit my teaching job, like you said, and go all in on this weird dream, which at the time, honestly, I thought I'd be like the next Jillian Michaels. I had been a trainer for, at the time, about 15 years. I was training celebrities. I was doing magazine things, bodybuilding competitions, TV. And so that was the path. That was the mission. It was, I'm going to go build this fitness brand, which I did. And simultaneously, after being in the online space for so many years at the time, a lot of trainers started asking me to help them. So by 2018, I was helping people with their businesses as well. And so this journey of 18 months to multi-million was really, it's 10 years in the making. And since I left my job 5 years ago, we've scaled our team, we've scaled the company, we've scaled our revenue, profits, all of it. But it definitely was not an overnight success story.
Yeah. And I appreciate you sharing that. And this is, I tell you this all the time. And whenever I talk about you, I'm like, one of the things you do really, really well is you showcase this journey of what exactly it is. And, for a lot of us who are just starting businesses, or for people who want to scale their businesses, it's like, how do I go from 0 to 100 tomorrow? Yeah. And that is something that you've kind of demystified, right? And debunked the myth of it just gonna happen tomorrow. But you mentioned 3 words that really stood out to me, and that's time, consistency, and grind. And I believe that anything compounded with time is likely to produce more of that, whatever it is that you're looking for, right? And if it's a positive thing, well, that can be money, impact, or whatever. If it's a negative thing, that could be a disaster and you can go in the wrong direction, right? Like, let's just call it how it is. But for you, did you know when you started doing this stuff in 2012, right? Could you have predicted that over these 10 years at the time of this recording, that your grind and consistency of the habits you were doing then would have produced the results today?
I think on a deep level, subconsciously, there was a glimmer of hope that yes, it was possible. Because if I didn't believe that it was possible, I don't know that I would have stuck through all of the hard times and just the years of not seeing the results that I wanted. And on a more conscious level, no, are you crazy? Like, why would this even be? I have never taken a formal business class in my life. I went to school for my doctorate of physical therapy. I then went to fashion school. I was an elementary school teacher, phys ed, right? So when, I use the Steve Jobs quote all the time, but we can connect the dots we can't connect the dots looking forwards. We can only connect them looking backwards. So at the time, did I think that it was possible? Did I see where it was going? Absolutely not. And deep down inside, there was a burning desire for something bigger. Yeah.
Do you think that burning desire for something bigger was the desire to make more money than what you currently had? Was it to live a different life? Was it to share experiences with other people? Or what do you think that desire was ultimately rooted at when you made that conscious decision to keep on going to that next level?
Man, if I'm being honest, which I always am, and it's not always fun, at the time of the decision and at the time of the chase, for lack of a better term, 10 years ago, even 5 years ago, I believe the desire was rooted in significance for me. I do. It was, yes, money for sure. And, as a teacher, I had a $50,000 salary and that was it. It didn't matter how good I was, how much harder I worked. It was $50,000. That is what you're worth. We were living the American dream, Mike and I, my husband, living paycheck to paycheck in the perfect little house. And it was a wonderful life. It really was. But there was a desire for more money. There's always been a desire for more impact. I am a teacher. I'm obsessed with teaching. And I like being in the front of the room and I like sharing my experience. And for most of my life, I'm 38 now, for most of my life up until my early 30s, I really weighed a lot of my self-worth on awards, accolades, significance, grades, financial markers, captains of whatever team. And so I do believe 10 years ago, there definitely was a deep-rooted desire for just significance in general. Yeah, but it's changed.
Do you think that significance, because significance can be something that forces you to take positive action, but significance can also force you to do action that doesn't align with the true integrity of who you are. And so for you, how has that desire for significance, because I strive for achievement and recognition a lot, and it feels really good to be recognized for the great work that we do because we are changing the world, right?
Yeah.
And we are making our mark on society and helping play a small part in someone's journey to living the life that they truly desire. So how has your dance with significance enhanced your drive to success and building this business? But how has it also forced you to recognize what you deem as most important in life?
Yeah. I think it's a lot of layers. I think the first layer is really just learning about myself and knowing myself and having self-awareness of just even what I'm saying, right? The significance being a thing. And what that is it's ego. So getting closer and building that relationship to my own ego and just understanding myself without judgment, without shame, without guilt, without regret, and just keeping it kind of neutral and really learning about myself is number one, which has been huge and really, really important for me. The second piece would be allowing myself the permission and to always be growing and evolving, which is why, we named the company Digital Business Evolution, because you're always evolving and growing. And what I once thought was pivots in my life or where I was quitting, I glazed over it, but went to school for my doctorate of physical therapy, was in fashion school, and then living on my brother's couch, and then ended up as a teacher. So at the time, there were all these pivots or what I thought was quitting or failures. I'm now learning those are evolutions, right? And as I evolve, so does my business. And so we named the company the Digital Business Evolution because it really is a reflection of us, and it only grows to the extent that we grow. And looking back, it's twofold. It's the relationship that I have with myself and my ego, and the permission I've given myself to evolve and change my definition of success and change my definition of significance and change my definition of fill in the blank, which I believe we all do, right?
I believe we all evolve our definition of success. And I always used to say this when I would do speaking engagements, is I say, your definition of success is your compass to guide you to where you want to go. Yeah. But that North Star, that direction can evolve as you as a human being evolve. In my early 20s, it was to be a sports agent, to build the business I wanted to build, to start the combine, to write the book. as my late 20s, I have a very serious girlfriend. That definition of success is evolving to what I truly desire, which is eventually a family, kids, and a business that I can live wherever I want and do literally anything in the world.
Yeah.
If I want to donate $100,000 tomorrow, I can do that, right? And those are the moments that get really exciting. So I love how you kind of put that in perspective. So Jess, with all this stuff though, okay, there's significance, there's time, there's consistency, there's grind, there's 18 months, there's 10 years, there's all these things that we can talk about and dig into. But at the end of the day, you have a company that's called Digital Business Evolution, and it's about evolving as you grow in all aspects of your life. And then you have the digital and the business. Why do more people continue to start digital businesses? And what types of digital businesses can they really grow?
Yeah, I love this. I think there's a lot of layers here. I think some people get into digital business because it's trendy and because we think there's this pressure that we all need to be doing it because our neighbors are doing it, because everyone on social media is doing it. I also believe a lot of people are getting into digital business because they didn't really have a choice. And over the last couple of years, we've watched a lot of shifts happen. We've watched people lose jobs, companies shut down, and just people in general being able to go digital or nomadic and not have to go back into the office. I don't have it in front of me, but I was putting slides together this morning for something. And I actually, let me see if I can pull it up, but I was doing some research about the digital education market. And I found this morning that the e-learning industry just passed $250 billion. And actually that was last year in 2021. It's expected to grow $47 billion over the next few years. And what we have seen over the last few years is even school systems, right? Now utilizing things like Zoom. And now that they're back in the classroom, still using these tools, still using technology. So I don't believe it's going anywhere. I do think there are people getting into it for the wrong reason. However, I also believe that there is clarity and contrast, right? And so by trying something or doing something is the only way that you'll really learn if it's for you. And so I say the wrong reason because I do also believe that there are a lot of people marketing this very sexy, flashy life of I'm on a beach with a laptop, I work 4 hours a week and I make $1 million in 35 seconds. And so then people, of course, want that thing. And so they test it. But what I do think about digital education and just sort of the digital online business world that is so wonderful is the reality of it. You can almost work from anywhere. For me, I can make my own schedule. When we talk about our definition of success, there was a season in my life where success was driven by financial, location, time, and career freedom. And I'm very humble and grateful to say that I've checked all those things off the box through digital business, right? We also have the ability to work with clients globally. We have clients in like every single country all over the world. We have coaches all over the world. We get to connect with people that we wouldn't normally cross paths with. And when you're teaching education, when you're teaching a skill set, when you're teaching something that you have experienced, there's just no limit to what you can do, to the impact that you can make. There's also a really low barrier to entry, which is a good and bad thing, right? And there's really low overhead. So where else in the world can you start like a brick and mortar business for essentially no money? You really don't need much other than having some social media accounts to put yourself out there. And that's free marketing. So I think that there's been a snowball of a lot of glitz and glam, but also the reality of it is it does have a low barrier to entry. It's not, there's a quote that says it's simple, not easy. And that's exactly what it is. It's simple. It's not easy. I'm not saying building a big business is easy, but it is simple. And if you just follow the foundational frameworks through time and consistency, you can get there.
I love that answer. And I love kind of how you talked about the low barrier to entry, the rapid increase, the growing industry. And what's really interesting about that is with all of those things, you have more people competing for the same attention, right? But the question is, how do you differentiate yourself? And one of the things that obviously I love to do is I think a book is your fast pass to the differentiation. So if you're starting out, now you could skip that time maybe by a year or two by having that book. And then though, you can partner that with what you teach, which is group coaching programs, and leverage the book for that, or vice versa, and take the coaching program that they build with you beginning, get some clients, and then turn it into a book to escalate your success. So talk to us about your method of teaching people how to grow group coaching programs, because I know that's one of your specialties. You obviously have your hands and you've coached on all of these different ways to make money in the digital business space. But I'd love to know more about your specialty of group coaching programs and kind of what your philosophy is around that.
Yeah. So there's a misconception or a myth or something that's been told in the industry that we need to start with one-on-one coaching. And that's great. And if you have some one-on-one clients, stick with it. That's awesome, especially if you love it. But I believe it's actually best to start with a group. And the reason that I love starting with a group is multifaceted. Number one, it's not rocket science, right? So if you have a group of 3 people or 20 people or 50 people, you're obviously working with more people in less time. So now you're leveraging your time, which is the thing that we never get back. So no matter how much money you can charge or make, it's still not as crucial as the time that you have. So by working in a group, you get to leverage your time, work with more people in less time, which means that you're actually going to get more feedback, good, bad, and ugly, right? It's all neutral. That feedback is going to allow you to tweak and refine your own processes, your own framework, your own methodology, thus making it better for the future. By having more people in the container, even if it's a free like beta testing situation, you're going to get all that feedback. Plus you're going to get more client results, which means you're going to get more testimonials, which essentially is going to give you more credibility, more clout, more authority, more confidence. And you're just going to have more market research and more people that you can have conversations with. So all in all, a group situation is going to yield more income, more impact in less time, essentially collapsing the time that it's going to take you to get from A to Z if you were only to do that with, just a handful of one-on-one clients.
That's so interesting. And let's say you want to write a group coaching program. We want to build a group coaching program. What are some of the things that we should be thinking of that would help us actually make this group coaching program? Because to be honest, if I'm new, one of the first things, and even I wasn't new, I had been doing one-on-one, I had a successful business. I was like, group coaching program, it sounds good in theory, but like, what materials do I need to build it? What do I need to include that shows my people value? Like, how do I develop the curriculum, if I may? What are some of those tips that you have that we should be thinking of when it comes to actually building out that group program?
Yeah, we really look at a group program as an entire machine. So within that machine, there's different departments, there's different gears, there's different belts, different things that need to happen. And so I could talk about that for an entire podcast episode, which is why our group program is 12 weeks long, right? There's just so many things that we want to go over. But from a zoomed out lens, I would say really, really, really important for you. Number one, to understand, what are you even an expert in? What is the transformation you can help people get to? Have you gone through it yourself, or have you helped other people do it? And sort of what sets you up as that expert. So the first thing that we do with clients is we help them extract what it is that they already know. What's your lived experience, your unique perspective, your transformation, your schooling, et cetera. Then from there, it's knowing exactly what problem you solve or what solution you offer. Now, who the heck can you help? Right? So what's the industry? Who's the client that you can help? And there is a lot of fear for a lot of people, especially when they're starting out, that they don't want to niche down, that they don't want to go super targeted because there's a fear that I'm going to leave other people out, therefore leaving money on the table. Right? And so I believe, this is my philosophy, take what you want, leave the rest. But I believe that by niching down, by going super deep, we actually earn our right to go wide. And so when we think about a company like Starbucks, what do you think of?
Coffee.
Right. But fact or false, do they sell other things outside of coffee?
Bunch of other things.
Right. But they're known for coffee because they started with coffee. Once they've sort of earned their reputation, they had enough capital, they had all of these different things, experience, exposure, et cetera. They started to add in bagels and cake pops and sandwiches. And I can do that with every brand, right? Like Nike, what do you think of?
Shoes.
Exactly. But they have fanny packs and clothing and hair ties and, probably makeup at this point. I don't even know, but they've earned their right to go wide. So the second thing that we help our clients do is figure out exactly who it is that you're helping, like super targeted, who it is that you're helping. From there, we take you through an experience of now marketing, because as a business owner, you're never not launching. And that also is really scary to people because they think that launch means I'm jumping on Instagram and I'm telling people they can buy something today. But the reality of it is a launch itself, we teach 8 pieces to a launch. So at any given moment, you're in one of those 8 pieces. And I don't say this to overwhelm you. I say this to excite you, because once you know which piece or which season you're in for that launch, it actually makes it really easy to come up with content. So we then step into content where we're teaching you, whether it's email marketing or if you're on social media, no matter what platform you're on, we teach you how to come up with content for each season so that you're attracting clients along the way. You're having conversations with ideal clients along the way. We're not waiting until the day that you're going to open the doors and put something for sale to hope, fingers crossed, that the people that want to buy are there. We're being proactive in our business approach rather than reactive. Then once we're there, we step into the next step, which is actually starting to create the course or create the program. And of course, we have an entire methodology. I was a teacher for a decade, so I walk you through how to build out a curriculum and what it looks like to really put together an offer, because your product, your course, your program, your ebook, your offer and your product are not the same thing. So there's a 7-step process that we take you through where we teach you how to craft an irresistible offer that's so good, it sells itself. And then, of course, the last part would be finally putting it out there, right? Generating the income, making the impact, and then basically just doing this on a lather, rinse, repeat cycle.
I love this. I mean, it's clear, simple, not easy.
Yeah.
And you make it even simpler for people who want help. And that's what's so great about this whole digital space in the first place, is there are great people like you who have taken their knowledge, their past experiences that may be seemingly unrelated to the work they're doing now, and figured out a way to convert those experiences and that knowledge to be able to teach somebody to get the result that they've been dying to get, but they've never known how to do it. And by doing that, you make it simpler, you make it quicker, and you help them find a way to generate more money and impact, which is the name of the game. And in your bio, you talk about ripple effect. That is exactly what you do. And it's so clear that you know what you're talking about. $11 million in client revenue. Like, this is the real stuff. So let's say we want to dig into this a little bit more. You have a live experience coming up next week where you're going to be talking about this different stuff. What are you going to be talking about, and how can people learn more about your actual process?
Yeah, this is literally the place. So whether you're just starting out and you're totally fresh and you're ruminating on the idea of, could I even do it? Like, do I know enough? Or you've tried things before online, you've maybe tried to launch a couple of things, or you're an experienced coach, you could be doing 7 figures already. This is definitely for you. It's a 3-part, completely free, literally no strings attached. We just do this a couple times a year, twice a year. We just do it to serve. It's a 3-part experience. Like you said, it's not a webinar. It's not a masterclass. It is a full-blown experience. And so there's 3 main trainings that I offer, but we also have a private community where inside that community, over the course of the 2 weeks where I do the 3 lives, I do bonus trainings. I bring in incredible guests. We give over $15,000 worth of value in that community alone. This is the roadmap to create and launch an offer so irresistible it sells itself. So if you want to learn anything from what does the actual roadmap to building a business look like? How do I step into the marketing of it? And then how do I bring myself into the sales? This is what we're going to do. So I'm essentially taking the entire business machine that I talk about, and over the 3 days, I'm breaking down each of the departments of the machine to show you underneath the hood of what it would look like.
So good. So good. Okay. So I like to ask these questions. I like to wait till the end to give the good stuff, and then people click off before you get the contact info. Like, we got to get the good stuff here. So real quick, before we continue on, how do we sign up for this? Where do we go? I know I'm going to have my link down below because I promote this like crazy. I love what you got going on. But if someone's just listening and they want to go do it right now, what's the link?
Yeah, super grateful for you sharing, and just really excited for anyone that wants to join. The link for you to join this particular training would be, I'm like, hold on, do I actually know it off the top of my head? Because when you are building a business machine, you get to delegate. So the link here would be my old name, which is jessglazer.com/DBE live 2022.
Boom. There you go. And we'll obviously have this linked up, but that is awesome to know. So people want to start these online businesses. It's great. Can be very lucrative, can be really impactful, but there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear of, am I good enough? Do I know enough? Who am I to teach this? There's already somebody else doing it. There's all these fears. What are some of the biggest mistakes that people make when they do take that first step?
I don't love the word mistakes, because I do believe that, especially for us individually, we have to grow through them, right? We get to go through these things so that we can learn. Some people, it takes a nudge. Some people, it's a whack upside the head. Sometimes we need to be reminded of something more than once. So I don't love the term mistakes. However, I do see common themes that new business owners, or common paths that they'll go down. So a huge mistake that I see, or a huge challenge or roadblock, would be that people actually spend a lot of time creating the thing before they sell it. So meaning they create the course, they make the ebook, they maybe even hire or outsource or find someone on Upwork or Fiverr, or spend 20 million hours in Canva, and they try to put something together and then they sell it afterwards. And that is not the way that I believe it should be done. I believe that we should monetize it before we actually make it. Companies do this all the time. We have prototypes and then we actually go and make it after we've sold it. So that's definitely one thing. Another thing I would say is that a lot of times people are focusing, I don't want to say on the wrong things, but in places that might not matter yet. And so what I mean here is, similarly to creating something before you sell it, people will spend a lot of time investing time, money, energy into something like a website. They'll go and they'll put together a website when they actually don't have proof of concept on an actual thing, a product, a course, a membership, right? Or they'll spend money on getting branded apparel when they don't necessarily have brand recognition or clients to purchase that. This happens a lot too, when people will go right for memberships. They don't have clients yet. They don't have a process yet. They don't have a larger audience yet. And they think that if I go really low ticket into a membership, it's going to be easy. When the reality of it is, I actually believe memberships are harder to sustain, because there's retention that needs to happen. And there's a consistency of you having to show up that's much longer than, let's say, a 12-week program. Now, with a membership, it's sort of this ongoing relationship that you just get yourself into, and without new leads coming in. Another thing that I will see people get tripped up on is they just simply think, I need more followers. And so they focus on growing audience, but again, they might not have a proven thing to sell. They might not have the market demand or the proof of concept. And so what that is, to me, is like having a bucket with a hole. And instead of plugging the hole, they're just trying to fill it with more water. More water is not the answer. We want to go in and we really want to plug the hole. And then I would say another one, I guess I had a lot in my brain, is jumping from thing to thing quickly, right? It's like following all these different coaches and experts who are all having success, which is true, but they're all doing it in a very different way. And so it's kind of like going to a trainer and they put you on a meal plan. And every time you come in every single week, they ask you how you're doing. And you're like, well, my Aunt Nancy is doing keto, so I did keto. And next week I'm a vegan. And the next week I'm doing carnivore 2.0. And the trainer's like, what? Can you just stick to the plan for a second? Because you're ruining the integrity of how it works. And so I see a lot of new coaches and entrepreneurs do this, both when they're in programs and they've invested in themselves, and when they're not. It's the shiny objects of Jake is doing this and Jess is doing this, and I'm going to try this and I'm going to try this. And if it doesn't work in 3.6 seconds, I'm going to switch what I do, rather than let me actually give it the appropriate time to, like a garden, actually grow its roots and harvest and break through the surface of the earth. We're just not waiting long enough.
These are so good, because like, as you're talking about, I'm like, yep, did that. Yep, did that. Yep, did that. Yeah, still do that every once in a while. You know what I mean? Like,
same.
Like, and I want to kind of give an example here, because this has happened to me at the very beginning of my journey. And it's happened to me, literally the lessons I've learned to speed up my process now. And so I built, before I sold my very first online program, it was like 2017 or something. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try this. I don't know what I'm doing at all. So I bought the software. I spent months interviewing all these sports business professionals, because I was in the sports world. And I was like, you know what? I know a ton of people. Let me leverage my network to create a course. I didn't know what the course should be. I didn't know how to do it. So I interview all these people. I spend money on the software. I spend tons of time trying to design it, figure it out, getting on Canva, doing all the BS. I launched it. I got like 2 sales and I was pissed.
Yeah.
I was like, what the heck? Never again have I built something until I have proof of concept. So when I start Big Idea to Bestseller, we had sold 5 figures worth of clients before I developed the curriculum, because I wanted to say, look, I understand now there's the demand, and I know what they actually want, so I could build it more up to their speed. That saved me tons of time and made me a lot more money. Yeah. I didn't have a website for Big Idea to Bestseller until after we crossed over 6 figures of bringing clients in. And so when you talk about your attention and what you need to focus on and when you need to focus that, That's something that I've learned and evolved and gone through this process. So at every stage, and I could keep going down all the list of everything you said, but at every stage of the journey, you have to come back to these fundamentals of like, okay, wait a sec. Am I listening to too many people right now? Or am I listening to one person who I believe can get me to where I want to go? And boom, that's the person you typically want to invest with. That's when I decided to invest with you when we worked together. I was seeing you. You had a program called Elevate. And obviously I love that word as it's in most of my books. And I was like, okay, the stars are aligning. I was also listening to you talk about like kind of trust in the universe. I was like, okay, there's something going on here. But then you were also doing some things that I really wanted to improve on. And I said, look, I could go look for 15 different coaches. I could keep diverting my attention. But I said, look, Jess has things that I need to learn. Let me just go straight to her, shorten my time frame, learn the process, and I'll do the work. Like I'm not afraid of the work. And that's exactly what happened. You fast forward a year after we worked together, and now I have a brand new big company that is just blossoming. And a lot of that has to do with the systems I learned and some of the ideas that you gave me through that thing. So talk about mistakes, or to call them challenges or themes of what people do that they may not need to do. Regardless of how we define it, they exist. And conversations like this and programs like yours and the DBE live experience that you're hosting next week, these are the things that will enable you to stop making the mistakes before they happen, or to start doing the right things at the right time to achieve where you want to go. So as we keep going here, Jess, though, there's probably somebody in here that's like, okay, look, all this stuff sounds good. You make it seem so simple, but why do I need to invest in myself? If I can go to these free trainings, if I can listen to all these podcasts, if I have all these people, like, what's the purpose of investing, and when do I know I'm ready to invest?
I love everything you're saying. It's so interesting too, because you were talking before, just real quick, about kind of like the limiting beliefs and the self-doubt and the, am I good enough and all of that. I don't think that that's the stuff that actually holds us back the most. I think it's our ego on the other side that holds us back the most, saying, but I know this, but I've heard this, but I've already been here, but I've read this. Right. And it's the ego saying like, I know success leaves clues, but ... I'm going to do it by myself, but I don't need to do this. Right. So your question about investing, I see investing, there's two things that are happening. One, we can talk about a financial investment, but two, there's time investment. And like I alluded to earlier, I believe that time is more valuable than money. And so most of us are actually prioritizing money over time because we're looking at how much does it cost. And I get it, that matters. Like that's the reality of it. We have bills to pay, right? But we're looking at how much does it cost financially rather than how much will it cost me time-wise if I don't. And so do you need to invest financially in order to get A to Z? No, you don't. But my question for the listener who's skeptical would be, and I say this respectfully, if you don't want to invest and you believe you can do it by yourself, and you say, I'm going to go to all these free trainings, I'm going to download all these things and I'll just do it. Well, then my question is, well, have you done it? Or why are you not there yet? And maybe it's just time. Maybe you just need more time. So I'm not throwing shade, but for me, the financial piece of investment has always worked, because for me, it's gotten me into a slightly elevated room. So the experience that we're putting on next week should be, thousands of dollars. We don't give anything less. If you've ever been a part of any of my experiences, free or paid, you wouldn't know the difference. You really, truly would not know the difference. So it's not less value because it's free. It's free because we like to commit to doing this as a company, because this is what we're able to do, because we have the financial freedom to do so. We can take the entire team and put this time into it and the capacity and energy into doing something for free to serve the community, so that a rising tide lifts all ships, right? And that's our goal. That's our mission. So we're able to do it because of the business we've built, which I'm super grateful for. But for me, financially investing has gotten me into slightly elevated rooms. It's also, for me, put a little bit of skin in the game. I don't like just losing my money. So I know I'm going to show up differently if I've invested, whether it's a small number or a large number. I personally show up a little bit differently. And I think most of us do. There's an entire psychology behind gyms like, I'm not calling them out in a bad way, but Planet Fitness, LA Fitness, Retro Fitness, right? Their entire business model is volume. They know at a low price point, $19, $30 a month, people are going to hit the snooze button. They're going to roll over, they're going to hit the snooze button. It's not that big of a deal. And so they actually put that into their marketing and they put that into their numbers, knowing not as many people that sign up are actually going to be coming in, and that's okay. Whereas the facility that I worked at when I was in New York City, it was $250 a month just to walk through the door. People weren't really hitting the snooze button at $250 a month, right? There's more skin in the game. So the financial investment for me, I show up a little bit differently when I have that skin in the game. I want to prove to myself, I want to show myself that I'm going to show up for myself at the value in which I invested financially. I think there's a different level of accountability when you're in a paid container. There's a different level typically of support, even if that's just energetically. And to your point before with, success leaves clues, you really do get the proximity to the people that have done the thing. And so you could keep showing up to free things and trying it by yourself. And it might take you, like me, 10 years, or like you, I can read your book and learn what you learned in 10 years in 250 pages. And that is what I really find, investing financially in myself has looked like over the years.
This is so good. This is so good. And I think it's really interesting. You talk about the value is often very similar, right? Mm-hmm. Everything that's behind a paywall can be found in front of the paywall, but it's how you show up. And that translates into your confidence, your willingness to do the thing, your willingness to put the action in, your willingness to know what the roadmap is. That's on you. And that's what that can do. So I kind of like that framework that you kind of mentioned. So I want to finish here on an incredibly high note, because I think that there's been a ton of great knowledge and great viewpoints that might have been a little bit different of a perspective than some people initially had, or maybe someone's had like, oh, okay, I see it that way. Oh, I want a shortcut. I'm going to invest in myself. Or, oh, I need to write the book to then build the coaching program. Or I want to build my coaching program and then I'm going to write the book. Whatever takeaway you're having right now, I just want you to know that there is a unknown and not calculatable, if that's not even a word, return on your investments for yourself. Because it's not just, oh, I'm going to make more money. It's not just, I'm going to get in another room. It's not just, I'm going to get great value. It's not just, I'm going to get the roadmap. But what you're going to get when you do things like this is you're going to get access to experiences that you didn't know were possible. And that can come in the form of so many different ways. And we were literally just at a wedding for someone I met in your container who I'd never met before. We were digital friends for a year before we literally met. We ended up joining a mastermind together, and now we're really good friends. Life changes. And one of our coaches who we both have worked with, Chris Harder, he says you have to leave space for miracles.
For the magic. Yeah, for sure.
You have to leave space for miracles. And that's a lot of what investing in yourself does. It gives you the permission to allow that space and those miracles to be created. So just one final question here. We're wrapping up. Well, obviously there's two questions. I got to ask how people can get in touch with you, but the final good question, okay? The final question that I want to ask you, and I'm going to make this one up on the spot. I don't know if I've ever asked this in this way, but is this: if you were to think about the last 10 years and you were to think about the next 10 years of your life, do you have any idea where you will be physically versus where you will be mentally at that standpoint if you were to look at one more decade ahead from now?
Oh, so we're talking about almost 40 to almost 50. Well, where I would be physically, that is so tough for me. We didn't get into it, but Mike and I lived in an RV for 14 months, traveling around the country, 27 states. We currently snowbird between Arizona and New Jersey. So we are not great at staying in one spot. We've never lived anywhere longer than 2 years. We've broken every lease we've ever had. Our tenant has lived in our home longer than we ever did. So where will we be 10 years from now? I have no clue. Physically, where will I be? I will be healthy and I will be strong. I will be in a mental space of, before we were talking about success. And I said that there was a season where success for me was financial, career, location, and time freedom. And that I've been grateful and humble enough to be able to check those things off my list. And the last few years after checking those things off, it really has transitioned for me to be freedom of the mind. And so that's sort of my new marker of success. It's happiness. I don't believe in balance. It's happiness, it's rhythm, it's freedom of the mind. And so when I think about approaching 50, where I'll be in 10 years, I guess maybe we'll have a family. I'm not sure. We don't currently have children, but I see freedom of the mind. I see growth in the business. I see growth financially where, we've been focused on investing in other areas and building other businesses as well. I see joy, I see happiness, I see play, I see fun. And I'm excited because if you told me 10 years ago, I mean, I never would have been able to paint this picture. I probably 10 years ago would have said I'd be, married with 4 kids or something at this point, living in a house in New Jersey. So I really have no idea what it will look like. And I'm excited for it to all unfold. But I do know that the work will still be going on because the work doesn't end. So I'm excited for that.
I love the way you answered that. I honestly had no idea what was going to come out of my mouth when I asked you the question, to be honest. But I'm going to add one more thing. You will be a best-selling author also in the next decade. Like, I'm going to throw that in there because I know that will happen. This is so amazing, Jess. Like, I really appreciate everything that you've said and how you answer everything. And there's so much intention and integrity within how you operate. And how do we connect with you? How do we sign up for the training? Let's go over that one more time. Again, links down below. But how do we connect with you to just get to know you more and to understand more about what you do and why you do what you do?
Yeah, I would love you to come hang out on Instagram. I'm there most. I have a brand new account over there. It's I am Jessica DeRose. I know it's very confusing with the 2 names, but I am Jessica DeRose is Instagram, as well as the old TikTok. And if you're interested in coming to the 3-part experience, of course, you can get the link below. It's jessglazer.com, DBE Live experience, DBE Live 2022. But yeah, come say hi on Instagram. Let me know that you were listening to this episode. Tell me what some of your takeaways were. Tell me what some of your aha moments were. And hopefully I'll see you inside of our live experience.
Amazing. There you have it. And for everyone that's listened to this point, I appreciate you. And if you appreciate Jess or the questions that we're talking about, the conversations that we're having, let us know. Take a picture. Go follow Jess, post the picture, tag Jess in it. Yeah. And that is also secret sauce to getting your shit in front of other people's audiences. But it's also a great way to show us that you appreciate our time and our energy, because we pour a lot into this and we just want to have the greatest experience for you that we possibly can. So thank you for listening. Thank you for paying attention. I appreciate you, and I will see you all on the next one.
Jake, thank you.